requirements of nature. This is the Tour de France stage 20, the Peloton Group A, as they say. Sorry about that shot if you don't like to see gentlemen standing looking at the hedgerow with an intent expression on their face. Today then, the riders have kept more or less together. We've had some pretty undulations. The third, fourth category climbs early on in the race failed to split up the field, and as ever, the effervescent Mr. Chiappucci was there jumping up and down to try and preserve some useful points on his King of the Mountains, and so he went over the top of the first climb of the day after the Col de la Cheminée in first place. Cavalla was on his wheel, Gianelli was in third spot, and by the time we got up to the climb of the Col de Giriat, there was a slight change in the order then, because Lavian managed to nip away and just go over the top in front of Chiappucci. Chiappucci, of course, very determined to, here we are, we're back with this crash. It looks a lot more serious than we first thought. This is one of the problems when the Peloton's Group A, they're inclined to sit there and take it rather simply, and this looks like a bad crash indeed. They're tending to his head, and of course if he's cracked his skull, this will only add to the problems we've been having with the concern about wearing crash hats or not wearing crash hats. We haven't been watching the pictures long enough to discover, although that's below the line really, and it looks like he might have been stabbed by something else, hit a piece of something else's bicycle or one of the cars. And the mechanics here waiting ever present with the bicycle on the hope that they can get him back into action. And so that rider now that's come off, number 58 there, Itabaldi, Valerio Itabaldi, a very good sprint indeed. He has now suffered what looks like to be a nasty bang on the head, and there's quite a delay here for him. Well, the field isn't going too fast, and provided they can patch him up, he'll be back in action. It isn't like, with all due respect to football, they stretch him off and that's him, bring a substitute on. You've got to get on your bike, you've got to ride, you've got to go for it. And Tebaldi here, he's quite conscious enough to talk to people, so he hasn't been concussed by that crash. But obviously for the Shadow Dax team, he's taking out a man who's quite a useful contender. Of course, the man who's lying at the moment in second place, old Gianni Bugno, rides for this team. He's in all sorts of trouble. Let's hope he can get up and take part in the race. We'll give you more information if we get it. And he is up there, and there is his crash hat actually. So he was wearing it when he came down, but you can see the nasty crack was just below that. So bad luck for Tebaldi here, who's just testing to see whether his leg will still work. Didn't have any successes last year at all, and he's one of these riders who is very much a domestique of the teams, but I think the doctor is reasonably satisfied with his state of health. And there goes the crash hat on over the top of his head again to get him back, and the cameramen have had more than their fair share of pictures now, and I think the press will probably carry that one as well. So those are the trials and tribulations of being a racing cyclist, that you come off when the field is like you see it here, taking it fairly. There is the green jersey of Abdul Japarov. Of course, these are the problems. This is why normally the green jersey and the yellow jersey, anybody who's in contention for an award, there's the yellow jersey fairly well back. They like to stay round about riders they know and keep a little bit to the side so they can pitch out and go for the hedgerow rather than to fall over the tops of bikes. And it's not too good if you're wearing one of the important jerseys to find yourself in a pack when a big pilot comes in front of you. So I'd have thought by now the yellow jersey might have eased himself forward. We don't want him to have a crash either. It was a few years ago when there was, I think it was Van Aerts was actually wearing the yellow jersey, went down a mountainside down the ravine and tipped over the other side. No, Van Aerts, that's right. Well, down he went over the edge of the mountainside and dropped something like about 30 meters and managed to finish up on a branch, and they had to rescue him by tying some tubular tires together and dropping them down and pulling him up again. But of course he was out of the race. There are occasions when the yellow jersey come up, and of course in this race we've already had Sorensen crash out of the race, and when he was wearing the yellow jersey, he unfortunately on the stage into Valenciennes was down with a big bang and was unable to start the next day, and heroically he was tried to get to the finish, but he did so. He only got about 13 seconds down, but they decided he couldn't start next day, and he didn't sign on, and Greg LeMond didn't take the yellow jersey, though at that point he was lying second overall and was entitled to it. But LeMond, like many of the riders in the past, Eddie Merckx did the same thing when O'Connor crashed, refused to take the yellow jersey as a cause of an accident. So on the stage 6 from Arras de l'Arve, it was Thierry Marie that romped away and had that magnificent long break and got there after covering 234 kilometers to take the yellow jersey, and that restored the order of the Tour de France. One or two riders moving their way up back through the pack here. They've been shelled out the back and probably also attending to the call of nature. And in that little crash will have been delayed slightly. The team cars moving back into their order. They go there in order of the classification of their riders, and there's a complete pecking order for all the 22 teams. Nobody pinches anybody else's place, and once if somebody drops back to sort out a problem like we've just seen in that crash, then they go back up again and the other cars allow them to come in. Because half the problem is on narrow roads. On the left-hand side of the road, you've got the journalists in their cars, and you've got the officials in their cars, and you've got motorcyclists as well. Right-hand side is all the team cars, and you've got to go between them, and what they try and do is leave a bit of a gap so that you can actually come up past a journalist, go in between the journalist car, and then go in between two team cars, then between two journalist cars, in between two team cars, and you zigzag your way up to get to your rightful position with much horn blowing and sometimes much damage to the motor car. The Fiat motor cars, which are being used by the Tour de France yet again this year, they go back, some of them in rather battered state, I can tell you. So if you want to partly use one careful owner motor car applied to the downhill swoop, allowing the TVM riders to accelerate to the front and use the slipstream of the motorcycle, which they're not allowed to do, sitting in there making the most of this downhill bit and resting their legs. I've got a suspicion that they're inclined to wind up these bike riders. The last couple of days on the flat in the Tour de France is always one when the pace is contained. And there's Greg LeMond. What a ride he had yesterday. I wonder if we're going to see him come and try and show his influence. He tried to win a stage yesterday. He's on the front of this little pack, and he's just showing that he's not all over yet. Zigzagging his way through. He's gone up to have a word. This is not his team car, this is a Wyman team car in front of it at the moment. So I'm just trying to work out why the Wyman team car is there and why Greg LeMond is near the Wyman team car, because the team cars are normally at the back. Has Greg been off the back, attending the calls of nature? Yes, I think he's working his way back up to the pack. So Greg is working his way back up again, together with the rider from the Helvetia team, and that looks like Henri Manders. Now you're watching, I tell you about the zigzagging. You see the gap now. If you saw a team car coming up, it'd have to work its way through that gap. You have to go left now, then go forward, then go right in the gap, and now the riders are doing somewhat the same thing. You've got a wonderful opportunity here. I can imagine with a team car on the narrow roads trying to fight their way back up this lot with riders as well. And of course the riders here want to use all the road to go around the corners. Greg LeMond in front there, whereas the team cars are in the way, so it slows down their ability to get back up again. Anyway, now here's one of the team cars going back through to get back up to his original position. The Helvetia team then seemed to have had a few problems, because he also got off the back here, number 106, working his way back up again. Pascal Richard, who was second yesterday on the stage from Morzine to Aix-les-Bains. Disappointment for him. He thumped his handlebars and put his arms down in disgust, but I think to an extent he went too early in the sprint, then sat on Konishev's wheel and allowed Konishev to wind it up. There we go. Some take the right hand side, some take the left, and they'll all come back together again in the middle. All you've got to do is to find yourself a spot to drop in the wheel, just like the team cars are doing. They've accelerated now. So a little bit of the work of the TVMs on the front. There are two of them there. There's another one here. Well, Konishev for the TVM team got the stage yesterday, so perhaps they're trying to get you. There's another one. My goodness, they are massing at the front. There's Rooks as well. Ariel Steer, Buckler's up in front. It's about time they got stuck back in again, I think, to try and pick up a stage. And Benesto's watching to see what's going on, marking the moves, wanting to try and keep this thing fairly well tight together. And just in front then, from the TVM team moving over, it looks like Rob Harmeling. I have to check that one a moment, because he's the last man on general classification at the moment. And the speed has suddenly rocketed up. Yakimov now, a fine shot of this man going through. It looks as if the hammer has gone down. The gentleman's agreement is over and done with. We've got this finish looming up on the schedule. They should be there round about 20 past 4, and that's Central European time. It's now 27 minutes past 3, so there's about an hour racing left to go for these riders. They've been running a bit down on schedule today. Most of the days they've been up on schedule, and we've had great problems rushing to and from the commentary point to pick up the action, because they've been accelerating very quickly indeed. But today is the first day when they seem to be going more or less, well, a bit slowly in fact, but I think they're going to accelerate now as Dominic Arnaud for Castorama starts to wind it up, and the gap opening up behind. Castorama team then likely to be without their team leader next year. Finon talked about leaving them. Here's one team leader, Greg LeMond, going for it. And as I said yesterday, the press talking about a grand champion, the man here, Greg LeMond, now 8th overall, 12 minutes 25 seconds. Despite his sickness, he's not been very well. He's been feeling very weak. He's had bad days and good days, and every day he's got back on his bike and he's battled through. And here we are with the Helvetia team rider going up with Arnie Marners. Can't hold on to Greg's wheel, but he's going to have another go at it. So we did see, before the programme started, one or two of the riders having a little quiet session in the hedge, tending to calls of nature, and I think somehow the hammer's gone down. It always happens that way. The minute there's a gentleman's agreement that you'll go and sort things out to make yourself comfy, someone at the front decides it's time to wind it up, and that is not very good indeed. Le Mans having to work quite hard. I think he'll be happier at the front of this lot going forward, rather than going backwards and trying to get back on the back of the pack. So we're staying with Greg LeMond at the moment, and just behind him, Henri Manders, taking a little bit of shelter from the car in front. That's not really allowed officially, but if a rider's had problems, the commissaires often turn a bit of a blind eye to it. They don't turn a blind eye to hanging onto motor cars, by the way, or getting constant pushes up mountains. We've already had a couple of riders disqualified. Dominguez was disqualified yesterday, and Pesera the day before, and I understand that both of them, this is subject of course visual confirmation, it's just something that I've heard, that both of them were hanging on to motor cars and getting the tow back up again. That is not allowed. And there they go. In fact, the newfangled motor cars with the very smooth door handles, it's difficult to hang on to them. In the old days, with the chrome handle, chrome grips, in my day as a bike rider, you'd see the chrome grip on a motor car going past the old handles, and whack, you could grab hold of that. But the new modern smooth motor cars, there's nothing to grab onto, except of course the team director's window if it's down, or the roof rack, but then you're easily spotted doing it. A door handle is an ideal thing to hang on to. Not allowed, of course, but there you are. Sometimes needs must. Now then, what's the next little bit of acting we're going to see? What's the next play? Well, the Shallow Dax with Tiboli trying to make his way back up again. Hello, they're going to decide they're going to have a pose session in front of the cameras. Well, you've got to have a sense of humour to ride a bike, the distance these lads have got. We've only got 2 more stages. Tomorrow, the team time trial. Then we're off onto the stage up into the Champs-Élysées. That one really is the last hour, an absolute sort of hang on by your fingernails, lad, because they all want to win the stage in the finish of the tour. Most of them got their families and friends there to see him, and I think half of Spain will be there as well to welcome home Miguel Indurain, at the moment in the yellow jersey. Convincing at the moment, well in the lead, 3 minutes 9 seconds ahead of Bunya. We're out of all the mountains. Today just a few slight little conks to climb up, and he hasn't done anything to split the field up. And generally speaking, the comments from the riders that we've been hearing is they thought the Alps this year were a bit of a nothing, that they did not, that it was too easy, that it was too flat, and that he didn't really have a bearing on the race. But those comments may be easy to make for some of the people who wanted to attack the field. Looks like Galt's going through, and Anderson are here with this little pack as well. The Lotto team beginning to show. Anderson switching to the other side, by the way. He's going to creep up the other side of the camera. I just saw him flick to our right-hand side. Galt's on the front then. So we got about 45 kilometres to the arrival of this race. Where's Anderson got to? Has he gone past the motorbike on the other side? It's one good way to catch the chasers, because if you nip the other side of the motorbike, they can't get around it fast enough. The motorbike has to accelerate, and let's see from the helicopter what happened to Anderson. No, he's back in the pack. It was a little bit of just a flick move, and there's a useful group of about 10 riders there, but the rest of the field are going to hand them down by the sounds of it. So I was saying that some of the riders saying how the Alps weren't that tough today, but yesterday, which looked like a fairly reasonable stage from Morzine to Aix-les-Bains, when Conor Shave won it from Pascal Richard, a big downhill 23-kilometre gallop in towards the finish. The bike riders have come in all sorts of groups. The group came in 1 minute 50 seconds down, some 1 minute 50 seconds down on the leader. Another group at 3:25, and then a massive group at around about 11 minutes. And the last man came in 15 minutes down yesterday, 15:43. That was Twan Pauls from the Buckler team, who has been looking after his teammate Marsens, who's not been too well. And the day before, for instance, Borg was on to Morzine, and that was a pretty tough one. Now, that really was awful with the bad weather, foul conditions. Even then, Renstra came in just some 30 minutes down. So we're going to a very famous chicken area here, Bourg-en-Bresse. We've now covered 115 kilometres, famous for its chickens, Bourg-en-Bresse. I wonder if somebody's mentioned that to Tesco, because they're always sending out young Dudley Moore to look for chicken, chuck, chuck, chuck. And I think you ought to go to Bourg-en-Bresse, because that's where the riders are now, with 115 kilometres covered, and that gives them just some 45 kilometres to go. All downhill, all flat from now on in. They're no more than 220 metres above sea level, and they finish at Mâcon, the first time we've been there, 180 metres above sea level. So a little bit from here on downwards, they're going to undulate for something in the region of 40 metres, most of it downhill, very little up from now on in. And so there's a bit of a sprint coming up, one of these special ones at Vona after 140 kilometres, when let's see if the man in the green jersey can get up with the attacks, and that's Abdul Jafarov, still in the green jersey, as he's been consistently through this race, having won himself a couple of stages. The Soviet Union riders doing rather well. In fact, there's comments flying about that have the Soviet Union taking over from where the Dutch and the Belgians used to be, because with Konishev yesterday winning a stage, that's 3 stages the Soviet Union riders have won so far in the Tour, whereas normally you'd find the Belgians and the Dutch going for it, and they haven't been quite so successful this time. Neither won the stage into Valenciennes, but other than that, they've been scratching around for some success. And of course, matters made a bit more difficult when Johan Museeuw retired from the fray. So the Belgians not having the best of tours. In fact, Brunel is their best placed rider overall, and that's not, as far as they're concerned, a very satisfactory performance, because last I saw he was around about 35th overall at 52 minutes and 35 seconds down. So the Lotto team here, last year they were doing extremely well with their grand old champion, Claude Croquillon, who rode probably one of his best tours ever last year. And of course, it just shows you some of these hard men can in fact survive the tour and finish in good places. And last year, Croquillon finished the Tour de France in 9th place, 12 minutes 4 seconds down on Greg LeMond. And so far, the victors of Belgians have been one from De Wilde, and as far as the Dutchmen are concerned, one from Neidem. So they're not really, I think, going to go home too happy about that state of affairs. Well, lots of racing yet to come. The riders have got a little gap, plenty of criteriums for them to go and ride as soon as the Tour de France is over and done with. These celebration races for a couple of hours in towns where they turn out on fate to watch the grand champions taking part in them. And then the next serious big road race starts on the Sunday after the Tour de France finishes at the Wincanton Classic in Brighton, when these riders, many of them, will be going over to defend the position in the World Cup Series on that very interesting course there. And then many of them will stay over likewise for the start of the Kellogg's on the Tuesday, Kellogg's Pro Tour Britain, which will go right the way through till Saturday. And then they'll be all galloping across again over the other side of the channel to take part in the Tour of Holland. And then at the back end of the Tour of Holland, there is the San Sebastian Grand Prix. It's not what it's called, San Sebastian, which is also part of the World Cup. And then we start the track championships in Stuttgart and the big road race of the world in the back weekend in August. There's the riders streaming along. Many of them, therefore, apart from a bit of a brief rest after the end of the Tour de France, will be back on the treadmill, packing a bag and getting into aeroplanes or motor cars and travelling across the world. What a hard way to earn a living. But as my co-commentators Stephen Roche and Alan Piper have been saying during the Tour de France, when they popped in here from time to time to help us out, you've got to enjoy riding a bike, you've got to like it. You just don't suddenly say, I'm going to be a racing cyclist, and take it up unless you actually enjoy going out on your bike, because there are days when you've just got to get fit, you've got to go out and it's pouring with rain, it's miserable conditions, and you've got to go and ride your bike, and you do it because you actually, fun enough, enjoy it. There we are, TVM going yet again. The riders from the flatlands here, actually looking at their jerseys this year, they've only got about half a dozen TVMs on it. One time they used to have the record, I think, for the number of logos. They and BH, you had to sort of count them. There's still about 35 logos on the jerseys. And everywhere you looked, there was a little TVM logo. In the case of BH, exactly the same thing. They were all over the place, but they've tied them a bit this year. And the TVM jersey, very easy to spot, large chunk of yellow on them. And there's the leading cars deciding they're also going to play round the roundabouts on different sides. So this little group at the front looking quite useful at the moment. That's Olaf Ludwig, who hasn't had a stage success. Yes, he's been there or thereabouts. So I think that Ludwig is now deciding that if there's any time he's going to get anywhere, it's got to be today, or probably even on the Champs-Élysées on the final Sunday. So Ludwig started to go at the front, and the Panasonic squad will work with him. There's got to be, I suppose, some sort of gentleman's agreement amongst one or two of the the specialists at the flatlands, because there are Buckler going again. This is their particular tactics as well. Ludwig jumping on it as well. Anderson in there as well. Anderson already won a stage at the moment. So Ludwig in this little group, Anderson with it as well. This is a very nice workmanlike little pack, and down there coming up we've got, it looks like Goltz, followed by the rider from the Carrera team in the green jersey with W. Japarov. And this lot here. It's quite a useful little bunch. But I think they're going to get company very quickly, and that should slow it down a bit. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 of them. And TVM rocketing off yet again. So they certainly, after yesterday's stage success, have decided it's about time they stuck their name on the Roll of Honour and tried to go for another one. And who's going to get them back this time? Because that's Vasily Jajanov. Well, if Jajanov's going for it from the Soviet Union, then certainly that'll make the tongues wag, because we've seen enough of these Soviet Union chaps coming across and snaffling all the money. 173 on the hooks now and trying to catch up to them. And that's Brian Holm from Denmark. So a lot of riders still trying, but with all due respect to Jajanov and Holm, it's got to think be up to the peloton to give them the freedom to go away. And there they are, they've caught up, they've gone away. I think what they saw was that group coming up from behind and decided the best thing to do was to accelerate, because a large pack, and we've got one of the Panasonics coming up. Last time we saw him, it was Ludwig. And one of the Soviet Union riders who decided to bury the hatchet now as regards the teams they ride for and just see if they can do something to fly the flag for their country. And there they are, we've now got 4 men, and one of the Panasonics in there. Certainly the active one before that we had was Ludwig. And from Lotto, they're thinned down a bit actually, Lotto. They've lost a couple of riders. Samuel Reels has gone, and Johan Muzio has gone. And let's see who we've got in there at the moment. Well, can't see them through the trees, makes life very difficult indeed. And that's 166. The numbers, by the way, these riders have got this year are actually stuck on the backs of the jerseys. So we've got with them now, it isn't 166, because that in fact is Rolf Jarman, and it is not Rolf at all. It's one of the... It's all right, let's see, there we go through. There's Zadnov riding along, and he started it all at the moment. So Zadnov is in there at the moment with, and it's Marc Sergent. So there's been a change amongst the Panasonics. Marc Sergent has gone over and taken Ludwig's place. He must have come up with that little pack behind. You see down there, they're being caught. So in place of Ludwig, we now have Marc Sergent, previous champion of Belgium. Quite a useful sprinter indeed. There's Ludwig back in that little pack, Anderson as well. So as they got caught, obviously those that came up decided to keep the pressure going. And they... So the field here, enjoying some flatlands. There actually is quite hilly round here, this particular region. We've now in the department of Laon. We've come out of the Savoy region, Savoie, sorry to pronounce it right, Savoie, which was to the west of the Mont Blanc between Geneva and Grenoble, and that of course is the kingdoms of the Alps. And this Savoie area we've come through, and Aiglebain with a beautiful Lake Bourget this morning. The gap now is 20 seconds to this little pack on the front. Whoops! Cameron nearly clicked himself a mascot in the form of the local gendarme. And they're back again trying to pull them down, and there's Abdul Japarov in the green jersey beginning to accelerate, and just behind him then is Maurizio Fondrest. Now got a new pair of shorts. Lovely picture of him in the paper the other day with both his cheeks showing. And I don't mean the cheeks just below his eyes. He'd come down with a bang and ripped both sides of his shorts, and it was rather a nasty one that certainly grazed him in a rather painful place. Many of these riders having to spend the time in the Tour de France sleeping on their face when they get scratches and abrasions where it hurts. So there we have Brian Holm, who was up there with the early charge, which I thought was Zadnov, and it is in fact Marc Sergent. There's Zadnov as well, and Marc Sergent's gone through. 1 minute, that was a quick game. So the main pack have let this lot drift away a bit. Interesting bikes these TVM chaps ride. They're called Zulu. You'd think they'd be able to sort of throw themselves into the distance, spearing old and sundry. There are Brian Holm looking back. His name, by the way, used to be Brian Holm Sorensen, and he took the Sorensen bit off his name because of the conflict with Rolf Sorensen, who was the chap who wore the yellow jersey in this tour early on when his Alios Steer team won the team time trial on day one. So this is Brian Home, not to be confused with the other Sorensen, now without the Sorensen bit at the back of his name. So these are no great concern, I think. Janov, Sargent, Redant and Home, they're no great concern to the main pack behind, but I wouldn't have thought that at this particular group, Histor would perhaps not be too happy about Home, because they've certainly got in De Wilde a much faster sprinter. In fact, all of these riders have got within their team, except Redant is very quick indeed, by the way. He's a fast sprinter, yes. Ah, look what's happening now. On the front there, we're seeing lots of blue and white jerseys. The group here of, they're about 1 minute back. And it looks like we've got about 30 seconds a chasing group ahead of this main pack with the Peloton at 1 minute. But Benesto near the front here. This is a 15-man group with the Benesto group in it. So there's this 15-man group about 30 seconds back. Main Peloton is at 1 minute. And there's quite a lot of men here that could do with getting up to that little group in the front. And there they are, working away at the moment. I wonder if they're going to actually get across this time. And but that'll be rather a heavy number of riders up in the front. I thought if they make 15 plus the 4, making 19 in all. But it's quite a useful little group. There's Bruno Cornelet in there. Just drifting through now is Dmitry Konyshev. That's the fellow in the yellow there, 1:45, and his back winner of the stage yesterday. Goltz is just there as well. So these riders are still looking to pull back those leading 4 men. And the Alios Steers are also present. In fact, TVM have got at least 2 riders in here. We've seen Konyshev, and here's another one up on the front going for it as well. This could be quite useful as far as with 1 man up in the front already, Zhdanov. So this could be TVM's day yet again. Well, the green jersey, Abdul Japarov, not doing too much about this one. Cornelet going through. Just there we are, and Anderson's still trying his luck. I don't think Anderson will want to try too hard, though, to take this up. It looks like he's got a radio receiver in his back pocket. I'm trying to see that little thing sticking up. I wonder if he's got the receiver. Yes, he has, because in the cable over the back of his hat, just behind his hat, there's a white cable going over. He's listening to information from the director's sportees. The Motorola lads are wired with the team car behind them, telling him what's going on. So Anderson's got a receiver in the centre of his jersey at the back pocket. There we are. See, just between his 2 numbers, little black thing sticking up. That's the receiver, and the cable going up from the receiver through his racing jersey up to his hat is where he can listen to information. That's why they wear those very substantial crash hats. Zhdanov going through, Redant just behind him for the Lotto team, and he's wearing one of the ordinary type of crash hats. In fact, all the riders now, I'm just having a look, Zhdanov hasn't got his crash hat. In fact, Zhdanov stuck his crash hat in his back pocket, so he's likely to find himself with another hefty fine as well. And the last roll call on the fines for people not wearing crash hats I had this morning was 758,200 French francs. So that, in fact, is £75,000 the fines have been levied on the riders for not wearing crash hats, and they're completely against the rules and regulations. And there's quite a battle going on between the riders' representative, Marc Madio, the UCI, the Union Cycliste Internationale, who controls cycle racing across the world, and the FICP, that's the Fédération Internationale Cyclisme Professionnel, who are the people who look after the interests of the professional riders. So there's a little group behind here with a very strong group indeed, because with Rolf Goltz in there at the moment, he's always been fairly prominent and working hard. The ever-present bucklers with his pack. These 15 men, though, it's not a very spirited chase. They don't seem to be able to get their act together, and I've got a suspicion we might find 3 or 4 of them drifting off the front, fed up with the activities of the group behind. It's not enough just to sort of roll along like that. Somebody's got to have a bit of a go at it, and there's some concern, are they going to set off? Looking back over his shoulder, that's Wiebren Venstra, by the way, who's last but 1 overall on general classification. Venstra for the buckler squad. And Anderson here going through in this little chasing pack of some 15 men, and these are the 4 men they're trying to pull back, with Marc Sargent for the Panasonic Sport Life team up in front. Brian Holt behind him for Histor, and this is the group back 35 seconds to the pack. And we're getting inside 40 kilometers to go, and 1 minute 37 seconds to the peloton. The peloton don't seem to be too concerned. Not all at stake really at the moment. There's a sprint coming up at Vonas with 6, 4 and 2 as the awards which go towards the green jersey. But at the moment, that man in the green jersey you can see there has got 290 points this morning, Abdul Japarov. Jalabert and Toshiba 227, and it's not really likely he's going to pull back 70 points. In fact, it's virtually impossibility. It is of an impossibility, to be precise, for Jalabert to get the green jersey off Abdul Japarov. Kappa's even further behind for Histor at 134 points. So the green jersey is absolutely sorted out, lock, stock and barrel. So Santa Morita of the Shadow Dax team is with this little group as well. So there's quite a lot of riders here, and I would have thought there's one or two too many to get their act together to chase down this little group in front. Kiyopuchi this morning started out, and he's back in the main pack with the yellow jersey, overall race leader. Kiyopuchi had 281 points in the King of the Mountains against Claveriola's 255, and again with no mountains of any consequence today and nothing from now on in that's going to cause any concern, then Kiyopuchi is going to have that jersey right through the finish, of course, buying all accidents, because we say these things and riders have been known to fall off before now. In fact, I remember being on the tour, must have been in the late 70s, I think it was, with the TI Rally team, and we were in the team car thundering along the Champs-Elysees, and it absolutely chucked it down with rain, and the whole day, that day, we'd had a time trial in the morning, if memory serves me correct, and we just did this sort of 20-lap thrash around the Champs-Elysees in the afternoon. And there's Kiyopuchi, by the way, in the polka dot jersey. I've just been talking about him getting that one to the Champs-Elysees. And we had a crash that day about 2/3 of the way through the race. It was very slippy, of course, with the traffic, the taxis and the buses and things in the Champs-Elysees, chucking up lots of diesel and leaving it on the road, and of course the traffic sitting in the famous Paris traffic jams as well, dropping all sorts of oil onto the cobbled surfaces. It becomes like a skating rink, pours with rain, and going down alongside the Seine, there was a touch of wheels or something, and they just skidded all over the place. There were bikes and bodies, and everybody was just flying in all directions. And they all got up, and by then a little group at the front, about 15 men, had just scarpered off down the road, and the mechanics were rushing all over the place, replacing bikes and wheels, and then we had to sort of chase. And for the next 20 minutes, there was all hell let loose, because they were trying to reorganize the positions of the riders, and there was riders right on buckle wheels. They get spares up because you just couldn't hang about on a criterium. It's worse than on the road. A road like this, when somebody has a trouble, you can work, but when you're on a thing like the circuit in the Champs-Elysees, you can see them going up down the Champs-Elysees, around the other side by the Seine, past the Tuileries. And it was amazing. I sat there absolutely sort of staggered that at the end of something like 2,000 miles of racing, terrible conditions like that in a show place criterium could virtually put at risk 2,000 miles of pedalling. Fortunately, everybody got their act together, and there was no problems. Here, Carrera begin to drive this one forward. They really are having a go, aren't they? They're all in contention now to try and pull back that group. Pulikov just going through. And here, well, there's a familiar sight for us, number 166, and that's the rider Rolf Jarman, who on day one went away on that group of 11 men. And Rolf Jarman's had more than his fair share of troubles. He's was away up there in the leading pack earlier on. He's had the odd crash. He's soldered on through the Pyrenees and the Alps, and he's always been prepared to have a go, particularly when the road gets flat. So Rolf Jarman in this little chasing group. The Benestos also helping the careers. It looks to me now as if the message has gone out. We don't like this. Those 15 men in front and the 5 up there. Let's get the act together, chaps. Well, I'm surprised the careers are doing the chasing, because they've got Abdul Japarov in that group of 15 up the front there. And there's no real reason why they should hound down their teammate. But Abdul Japarov is a law unto himself, a bit like Kiyopuchi. They ride the race they want to ride it, and the rest of the team have obviously got other interests at heart. I think probably, though, the team manager has sussed out that a 15-man group can't work well enough. 55 seconds to the 18 chasers. And he's probably recognised those leading 4 are beginning to go away, because at one time this little gap here was only some 30 seconds back, so they're losing out to these 18 men. And we're getting very close towards the last half hour of the race. So, in fact, I think the team manager decided that Abdul Japarov's lot can't pull this back. There are too many weak men in here. So they're going to put the whole of the career team on the front to try and pull back that group of 4 at the front, because they haven't got a man in there. Well, you see the Benesto rider is still not going to do anything to try and aid this chase. There's our 18 rider. 1:20 9 then to the peloton, and just about half an hour of racing left. So they can pull that back quite easily, but they've got to get stuck in. They're doing that now. And still the Buckler on the front, then Toshiba, then Carrera. Oh, this is a whole little sort of settling, a pact act here. They've decided, okay, chaps, let's pull this one together. We're going to Macon for the first time. The riders, of course, won't be celebrating with that delightful wine for the Macon region tonight, but I'm sure that one or two of the team managers and the mechanics, particularly when the mechanics are finished, it won't be a bad day for them, because the work they have to do, these mechanics, to check over these bikes every day. They go through every bike the riders have been riding. So there's 9 men in some of the teams still riding. Some have got less than that. They have to go through all the 9 bikes, and they start to look after them in the order. First of all, they take the top place man in the team and do his bike, and they work their way down. So if you're lying last overall, like Rob Harmoning's doing now for the TVM team, he's 158th on general classification. His bike gets looked at last by the mechanic, and that means if the mechanic's getting tired or something, he's not going to affect the best bike, which belongs to the top rider in the team. So they work down the same thing with the massage. It's all in pecking order, and the Harmoning's bike will be the last one the TVM team will look at. And then the work at the moment has been mainly cleaning them down, checking for flints in the tyres, changing the tyres where necessary, looking for parts that might have in a crash have got broken, and changing them. And change the handlebar tape. They change it most nights. In fact, some of them do it every night, change the handlebar tape, so they got nice, clean, crisp tape in the morning. And completely clean the bikes down, chuck buckets of water on them, actually. The soapy water is the main thing, and a brush and soapy water. And then when it's all dried off, oil it and polish it, so the bikes are gleaming next day, and the riders get on the bike feeling really good. And the mechanics then tonight will probably have an easier time, because although they've got the time trial bikes to sort out for tomorrow, many of them have got the time trial bikes set up in the vans that go with the race and are now ahead of this pack, so they'll be getting their special time trial bikes out tomorrow, and this lot will be just tied up, made ready for the stage into Paris. And they'll be riding somewhat the same sort of gears as well, because the trouble when you're in the Alps and the big mountains, then they've got to change the gear blocks at the back, because they'll be riding what we call straight through blocks on these flatter stages. Today I think they'll have blocks that are slightly open, but by the time they get to the run-up into Paris, they'll be mainly on almost straight through blocks. In fact, many of them might even be on straight through blocks today. That second category climb wasn't going to frighten many riders, and they may have had a fairly wide ring on the front, a wide ratio between the inside ring and the top ring. In fact, many of them I can see have got quite small inside rings at the moment, so they probably kept the blocks at the back the same, and they might be changing over the inside ring for the stage tomorrow. There is Phil Anderson, and just behind him Bruno Cornelet. So we've got quite a little useful group of 15 men here, but they're making no progress on the leading 4. And there is the rider from the Shadow Dax team having his go. Big Olaf Ludwig riding through. So it would suit, I think, the Panasonics if they can get this little group of 18 up to the leaders, because with Marc Sargent already in there and Ludwig in this pack as well, they're beginning to get some useful sprinters, and the pack are chasing hard. So it's every man for himself, this group of riders. Behind there's, oh, look at the Toshiba, see all the red shorts, you can pick them out all right, because they, I don't think, have got anybody in the front group. So Toshiba now winding it up on behalf of Laurent Jalabert, who is their best placed rider overall. And so Jalabert is the one they're trying to work for. And of course he's quite a useful sprinter. Allo, looks like they've got them. I think that's it. They pulled back that 18-man group, and the obsession with that camera on gentlemen looking after the needs of nature. So sorry ladies, the pack coming up very quickly indeed, and there they are. So the 15 now have now been caught. So the 55 seconds still to the leader, and so with 4 men to 55 seconds, are the bunch now going to persist with their chase? Yes, the Toshibas are on the front. The back of the group here, looking at the Amaya team in their rather vibrant colours, the pink and slight colour of purple, easily noticeable. Of course, the new regulation, at one time you have to ride only with black shorts, you couldn't have any other colour. Then there came a time when you could have black shorts, you could have lettering on it, white lettering, so that was something, but the lettering had to be a certain size. Then there came the time when you could have black shorts with a white stripe with the lettering printed on it in colour, if you wish, like the Onse team here, the black and white. And then came the regulations, you could have black with coloured stripes. I mean, that was something. And now, of course, the regulation says if you like, you can have coloured shorts as well. So that's what we're getting now, much more colourful bike racing. And so they've now covered 133 kilometres of the race. That junction has now been made, and with the finish after 60 kilometres, we've just got, quickly the mental arithmetic, some 27 kilometres to go. 27 kilometres left for these three riders on the front. The gap is at 55 seconds. That still could come down if the bunch decide to do something about it. We've been through this before, though, when the indecision in the bunch means that the little pack stays away at the front and they hang on for grim death. Marc Sargent perhaps thinking that it's Christmas because he probably is the fastest sprinter. Although Redon is sharp too. I have to admit that he's pretty quick, and Zhdanov is a reasonable sprinter too, but I would put my money on Marc Sargent if it came to a mad gallop at the end of it, with Redon probably on his wheel. That's pure speculation because they've got 58 seconds is the lead for these four riders. And Sargent at the front, followed by just taking over Brian Holm, and the pack is coming up very quickly indeed. 58 seconds though is the time, and it is, yes, the Toshiba team doing the work. Well, this team, as we mentioned during the Tour de France, and sorry if I repeat some of the information because your viewers have been switched on right the way through the race so far. We've now on the 20th stage of the race. If I repeat my information from time to time, it's because we do get people switching in and out of the programme for the first time and don't watch it all the way through. Now he's got his crash hat off his head and hanging on the front of his bicycle there. Oh, that's a novel place to put it. One way of making sure your bike doesn't get hurt if you fall off, put your crash out on the handlebars. Well, the Toshiba team have now drifted off the front of that group. They've still got one man there. The rumour is that they might have a sponsor to pick up the team, or the majority of it, by the end of this year. We'd have to wait and see, because unfortunately their sponsor ducked out of next year, and it's going to cost £2 million to pick the team up. That's the sort of money for a team of the Toshiba type. One or two teams run, of course, on less than that, and in Great Britain that would buy you the whole of the British pro scene about 3 times over, if not more. But the riders on the continent, they have to ride at a tremendous level, and therefore they're paid a lot of money. And of course the sheer running cost of the team, because not just the riders you see here, most teams now anywhere between 17 and 25 men in the team. They've got to have all the equipment, they've got to have all the vehicles. There are 2 director sportive cars, there'll be the vans that carry the riders' equipment, there's the entourage, the soigneurs, the mechanics and everything else that goes with it. And in many cases they've got these great big buses now as well, these coaches, to cart the riders around as well. They're air conditioned and there's reclining seats in there. They have food cooked as well. So the top teams have these magnificent buses, and of course there's usually a PR man with a Swish motor car to cart the sponsors round, and 1 or 2 of the press and journalists. And then of course you've got to buy all the clothing for the riders, not only the clothing you see them here, but when they get off the bikes at night, they get dressed in very smart gear. Actually, during the Tour de France, most of them are wearing tracksuits all the time, but when they go to various functions, they have a special set of blazers and slacks and things to wear, and informal gear as well, T-shirts with manufacturers' names on, bags to put it all in. It's a tremendous task, and building up a team before the season starts is quite a job, I can tell you, going around ordering everything up to suit the riders and making sure you're ready for the season start, and it doesn't half cost them money. There we are, lovely sunshine now, weather condition about right, gone are the days when we were having a sort of 40 degrees of sun. It's now much better conditions, slightly overcast, and with the rains we've had recently, a bit of oxygen in the air as well, and the riders here, I think, enjoying what I call good bike racing territory and good bike racing time for the conditions that we're having today. Carrera and Toshiba working together. Yarman for the Wyman team dropping in, and there's a little bit of a gap opening up. Oh well, Duke de la Salle thinks it's about time he got stuck in, have a go as well. It's the 37 years of age in August, Duke de la Salle, winner of the Midi-Libre stage and the actual overall race, shows he's still in there pitching with a chance. But I think he's going to control this one to see if, I wonder if we're going to see Greg LeMond flying off the front again. He certainly went for it yesterday in fine style. He tried, I think, to get himself a stage victory. He'd like to go down with all guns firing, I think. Or conversely, perhaps Greg today might think it better to stay in this bunch and try and win the time trial tomorrow, the 53-kilometre time trial. That might be more, I think, towards his liking to have a go for that one. Thierry Marie just helping himself to some food out of his back pocket. Of course, Marie's had an extremely successful tour, having won the Prologue time trial, and they went on that stage from Alistair Le Havre to take the yellow jersey. after a long loan break of 234 kilometres. So he's had an extremely successful tour for his Castorama team. And my goodness, we're actually seeing some of the riders from the drifting up towards the front there. We just saw Luis Herrera with all the ones on his back, 1-1-1. Not had really a great tour, I think. He fell off a couple of times the other day, Herrera, and he's a bit far down general classification, not showing as well as he would have liked in the King of the Mountains either, because that's something he was really going for. He's been past King of the Mountains winner, Luis Herrera, riding for the Realo Postobon team. Yes, the speed is definitely up, and yes, it is splitting, and yes, it's Ralph Yarman yet again on the front, having a go at that little lot, and they're coming up very quickly indeed. Now, if this pace continues, there's a fair chance that they're going to catch it. We are Redant, Zhadanov, Sajan, and Holm are working quite comfortably, these four men. The gap is down to 31 seconds, so it is coming down. It was 58 seconds at 27 kilometres to go. It won't be long before we see the 20 kilometres to go banner stretched off across the top of the road, and then I'm sure that will really make the chasers begin to wind it up and go for it. So the teams behind looking for some more money. It's not in the glory of winning the stage. There's 50,000 French francs for the first man across the line, and that's a useful bit of money for the teams. And the team at the moment that's got the most money, as at the stage into Morzine, Carrera squad had amassed 392,000 French francs. So that's 39,000 quid they've won so far. Of course, there's a lot more money to come on the placings on the overall general classification. But just looking at what they've won in stage prizes and King of the Mountains awards and so on, the Carrera squad with Abdul Japarov and Claudio Chiappucci in the team have collected 392,250 francs. The next team that's won the most money is the RMO team with 360,000 francs, because of course they've had some tremendous success with Motte winning a couple of stages, and they had Ribeiro win a stage, and of course they had Clavriola win a stage as well. So they had 4 stage victories, which has helped them tot up that sort of cash. And Charlie Motte, of course, winning the special prize for the best mountain climber in the Pyrenees. So that's put them in second spot. The third placed team in earnings is Ariostir with 306,000 French francs so far. They're coming up towards the 20 kilometres to go. There's Thierry Marie that we saw back in the distance. The Castorama team he rides for has won 202,000 francs so far, so they're £20,000 that they've got in the race so far. And there, the 20 kilometres to go banner for these leading 4 riders. I've got the watch going to see if we can observe the distance between the leaders and the main pack. Last we heard it was coming down quite quickly from the original 58 seconds. And they're getting worried. Look, they're looking back over the shoulders. That was Redant, wondering where the pack has got to. And I think they realise that perhaps their moment of glory has gone over and done with. But a tricky little work in towards the finish here, back on for the first time. Here we are, the sprint coming up as well. So we're now in the town of Vonas. And the main pack go under that banner, and the gap is now 38 seconds on my watch. So that's, remember, this unofficial timekeeping from your commentator here with his watch going, and that says 38 seconds to me. And still Toshiba driving after that group. They're doing most of the work. Denise Roos gone just through, and we're seeing some riders that have been off our screen in the mountains and begin to come back into action now. The 38 seconds is the gap then. So these are the chasers, the leading 4 are away, and the gap is some 38 seconds. Looking at the sprint result, it was Redant that went across in first place. Sargent was behind him, but I don't think they really went for it and bothered about it too much, because they were more concerned about staying away from the chasing group, with the gap now some 38 seconds. These 4 men in front, Redant taking the sprint there for the PMU, and the bunch coming up, and you can just about see that's the banner that they sprinted for, and Pavlak here for the Carrera squad having his little turn on the front, being pursued then once again by the Toshiba team, and that was Philippe Louvio going through, and just behind him having a go, that's Denise Roux again. So Denise Roux, aided and abetted by the Carrera team. I think they'd like to see if Abdul Japarov can collect himself a 3rd stage victory. because he's now out of the mountains. The man who, when we went into the mountains, there were 32 seconds, so it's even come down since the 20 kilometer to go banner. Abdul-Japarov in the Pyrenees, he went in on stage 11, just 51 seconds down in his second place. He came out 2 days later, way down at about sort of 50th place, and he was then 50 odd minutes down. So it just shows you what mountains can do to these very fit bike riders. Because it's a specialist thing, climbing the mountains. British viewers, if I know where Robert Miller's got to, he's still in the act. He's riding Soissons Neuf, number 69 now, overall on general classification, 1 hour 28 minutes and 1 second down on the leader. Robert's been playing a grand job of looking after Greg LeMond. LeMond's still in the top 10 places. He was in 8th place this morning, and that means quite a lot of money anyway to finish up there. So he was doing his job, Miller, having had that crash and hurt his neck. So he's decided to help his team leader, and that is Jurij Pavlik, the Yugoslavian rider, go through. I don't think, says he, testing his memory, we've had a Yugoslavian win a stage in the Tour de France. I know that somebody will write up and say you got it wrong, but I can't remember one winning a stage in the Tour de France. We've had, first time this year, a Brazilian rider, Ribeiro, getting himself a stage. So Ribeiro has become a national hero in Brazil because their football team isn't doing very well. And I wonder if the Yugoslavian rider Pavlik could get a stage as well in the Tour. There we are, all strung out. It doesn't look to me as if the total field of 158 riders are in that pack. I think the speed has gone up now to such a point there might one or two being drifting up. In fact, yes, it's splitting. Looking down this pack, there's definitely a split with about 60 men up in front and the rest behind. The sheer speed of the Toshiba team driving this lot forward. They're after that 38-second gap. They must be pulling it down hand over fist. There we are, there's a wodge of riders. Yes, there might be about 80 of them there. And look at that, I thought it had split. Whoa, oh dear, consternation in the camp at the back. Who's in that little party? So there's a chase following a chase. That does give you some idea of the pressure that's been applied by the Toshiba team, aided and abetted by Carrera on the front. It's very much brinkmanship, by the way, because Buckler aren't helping this chase. They don't have to, because the points jersey belongs to the Carrera team with Abdul-Japarov, and so they're just going to sit in there, and if they catch, and I'm pretty sure at this rate knots they're going to catch those leading 4 men, I would suspect as we're getting now towards the 15-kilometre go that on goes a Crashat, sensible chap. I'll say to young lads watching this race, don't do that, don't ride your bike no-handed. You have to be a professional to do it like that, particularly when you're travelling at some about 35 miles an hour. It's 33 seconds the gap, it's coming back, and Onse team bringing them up there with 16 kilometres to go, just 33 seconds, so the gap is coming down yet again, and the main pack has got itself in one piece. And the Onse team seem to have been prominent in bringing that one back. I wonder why so many were towards the end. Perhaps one of their major team men had drifted off the back and they had to bring him up again. There, a fine shot of Jean-Francois Bernard for the Bonesto team. He had a great tour, getting stronger every day, and it's been a wonderful domestique for his team leader Indurain, who, barring accidents, it said in the paper, is just on a triumphant ride into Paris now, because Indurain won the time trial, a 73-kilometre time trial, when the PDM challenge of Eric Brooking faded with the trouble. And in fact, yesterday, last evening, they had a special press conference. The PDM people brought a whole pack of experts down to the tour to give their official explanation of the problems that had befallen the PDM team. And they've said it's absolutely certain that it was salmonella poisoning that had caused the trouble, and they're not quite certain whether it came from liquid or solid, but it had something to do with one of the supplements that the riders take with their food. And I know myself that I used to take a supplement some years ago with my food, and you only had like 3 days to use it all up, otherwise it started to go bad. It was like a special milk supplement. And of course, if one of those cans get pierced and they're on the shelf and you don't know that it's gone, then of course it starts to go off. So I presume that is what they're talking about. So the riders going along here now then, so the PDM team, and they had a tremendous gathering down there of learned gentlemen to say that it was a salmonella poisoning. We're sorry they're out of the race, but we've still got a cracking race on our hands, and those 4 men are still in the lead. The 4 men are getting a bit disconcerted now, and the pack behind are bearing down on them on our live transmission here on Eurosport of this stage of the Tour de France. It's stage 20 from Aix-les-Bains to Macon, 160 kilometres, and this little group here that have been away for something around about 20 kilometres I think going to find themselves hounded down by the pack from the constant chasing that's been going on from the Toshiba squad, aided and abetted from time to time by the riders from Carrera, and there they are. So that's the main pack. Toshiba drifting off the front, leaving it more to Carrera, and we're looking up to see where the group in front, that's probably still round about 25 to 30 seconds, and so they're still hanging on for grim death. Also hanging on for grim death, and on his bike, if you saw the accident to Baldi on our screen, then he's back in action. He's still soldering on, but he's off the back at the moment, but he's riding his bike. He got a very bad cut just above the eye. He was wearing a crash hat at the time, so probably saved him from a bit of a thump. And Tiboldi is back in action. Pensek has also been brought down, but he's back in the pack. The rider from the Meyer team is now in the pack, so Tiboldi off the back will, I think, just struggle in and survive and stay outside the time limit. Stay inside the time limit, because time limits operate on every stage of the Tour de France, but there should be, in his case, I think, enough for him to get back in towards the finish. We wish him well. I hope he manages to survive anyway, because at this stage, hello, the cows turned out to watch the race. Family's bought the pet cow. And is the field all together, I asked myself? Yep, looks like it. Doctor's car just second in line behind the Chief Commissaire. Chief Commissaire just trailing behind the main pack at the moment. And there is the group in front. The Chief Commissaire has had a lot to do on the normal work, but it's also Paolo Lamazza from the UCI in with the race here as the committee. Has had to deal with all the problems of the crash hats. Then they've been stretched as usual. There's always something crops up for the jury to have to look after in Tour de France, because so many rules and regulations about bicycle racing. It looks a simple sport, getting your bike and ride, but there are a lot of things you can and can't do. And there's the pack at the moment, all strung out. And a little bit of movement in the boards of back, one or two coming up. Blue and white all over your screens, and of course the combination blue and white belongs with Bucklers, Carrera and Banesto, and that is Buckler on the front at the moment. Then Toshiba, then Buckler again behind. It looks like Edwin van Hooijdonk it is at the front. Edwin van Hooijdonk winding it up. So Edwin van Hooijdonk on the front this little lot, and I'm looking back, the one or two of the career riders still in there, so they're dead keen to try and pull this one back. It's 17 seconds, and it's Van Hooijdonk that's doing the damage. Look at that, there's a great stylist. Winner this year of the Tour of Flanders, great specialist when it comes to riding the classics, early leader of the World Cup as well, not this year, a year ago, in fact a couple of years ago. And they really are sending up the heavy gang. The Bucklers now are at it. I'm not surprised. I just watched Maassens go through. Good to see him back in action. And Zaina from the Career Teams is up there. Lotto up the front here for Redant. Histor for Brian Home. Then Zadnov for TBM. And up in front, Marc Sargent for Panasonic. They've got a chase on their hands because it's the Buckler team that are really going for it. Well, Buckler already have had a stage victory in this tour when Neidham shot off on the stage from Reims to Valenciennes, 145 kilometres, and steamed in to get that stage, so they're probably trying to set this one up as well. But Bucklers don't only have Neidham as a man who can go for a stage victory. Of course, they've got Eric van der Raden, a previous winner of the green points jersey in the Tour de France. And Eric, we haven't seen a lot of him so far in this tour, and if he's getting some form now in his legs, I think he'd be well set to cause a few surprises. 13 seconds is the official gap. Well, that looks a bit more than 13 to me. But there you are, I'll take the official verdict of it, but whatever it is, it's coming down, and that's a sure sign then that the sting has gone out of their legs, and the pack should sweep them up as we get down towards the 10 kilometre to go banner. In fact, I don't know, I think it's in the 15 kilometre to go. Perhaps it was when we were off air with our ad breaks. This little group, Sargent going through, Zadnov, Brian Home. There's consternation here. I can see where the Redant is looking back, and that is the slight slope. Oh, there we are, the banner's coming up, and we'll get a check on that one. So in fact that is the 10 kilometre go. Yes, I did miss out the one with 15 kilometres to go. I've just got the old watch going. Let's see what the train is doing here as it steams under the banner. A quick look down, and in fact it's just 9 seconds, might be 10. So the gap has come down, and that is jumpable. At this sort of distance, people can rocket off across that one, but the pace in the pack is pretty quick, and I think they're going to pull them back. Ah, you might say, after all that effort, and then you get caught. Well, that's what bike racing is all about. You've got to have courage to go for it, conviction you can get the stage, strength to stay out in front, and if the pack decides to respond like they're doing now, you just keep your fingers crossed that you've got enough of a gap between you and the main pack when they decide to put on the extra horsepower and go for it. But in this case, I fear that the pack are quite confident enough at this speed to pull back those leading four. Yep, there we are. Charge the light brigade. Don't look now, chaps. Ah, right, that's it. Zadnov has said, I've had enough of towing you lot along, I'm going. So he started to warm it up. Again, fairly good tactics that, as he started to go off the front then. In fact, all the other three men have jumped onto his wheel. They weren't that tired. He's looking back again. Is it worth persisting? Marc Sargent is looking back as well. Edwin van Hooydonk moving forward. And still the chase going on here as Erich Mechler. Now he's a good lead-out man. Oh, they're going to jump across that one for sure. There's some real strong beat hitters near the front. Erich Mechler, of course, working hard for Abdul Japarov. When he won that stage into Reims, it was absolutely brilliant the way that they set it up with Mechler going for it, and then Bontempi on his wheel, and on Bontempi's wheel was Abdul Japarov, and just nobody could get past, although Muzio did try and got himself almost elbowed for his pains. Well, Tommy Muzio, one of his teammates here from the Lotto squad, I think has tried to go clear. Let's have a little look down there, what the action is, the chase. No, that's Van Hooydonk coming across. Van Hooydonk has launched one of his famous attacks. This is typical of Van Hooydonk 10 kilometres ago. This man takes a lot of stopping when he decides to take off, and he's going for it now. Van Hooydonk really starting to steamroller up towards that leading foursome, and when he gets there, knowing Van Hooydonk, he will not stay there and twisting the time of day. I think he'll go rocketing past, and he'll look for a side of the road that will take him away from the pack, and this is Van Hooydonk in full bore, absolutely flying along. What a great sight, what a great rider. He's just stoked up the coals and he's gone for it, and beautiful stylist. He's going now to whistle past the first man here, who will desperately think I tried to get onto his wheel, but let's see if he makes it. The first to be collected is going to be Redant from the Lotto squad. Van Hooydonk still powering along. Look at this. Let's see what happens. At saddle. Is he going to hang on? Yes. So he's now got himself a tow, and that's a useful little bit of tow as far as Redant's concerned. He got shelled off and he's now been drifting back. Let's see how long he can hang on to that wheel. Look at Van Hooydonk go. Oh, he's grimacing, gritting his teeth. The sheer speed of Van Hooydonk taking him away. Look at those long legs ploughing along that special frame. Oh, and he's going to help him. Oops, he's got some second lease of life, and he's probably recognised that if you get Van Hooydonk in the group at the front, then you've certainly got man who can add some more firepower to it. So perhaps those four men are not going to find themselves caught after all, because Van Hooydonk, who's coming up now from behind? Oh, the pack is splitting. The pack now coming up to them, but they're freewheeling. That's a bit dangerous there with Guido Bontempi riding number 13, easing back, and Amaya now with their man back in. This is Per Pedersen. So now that Pensek has returned to the fold, they're allowed a certain bit of leeway, and off they go. And I think Per Pedersen says, no, I'm not going to have a go at that one, so he's eased back a bit. So they look at them zigzagging all over the road, but that of course is not good, because that shows the people at the front are not too keen to work hard, and it's slowing the whole thing down, which allows Van Hooydonk, who's now collected Redant, to keep pressing after those front three men. And Lotto wanted, now Lotto must block it surely, they're not going to attack. Now that's strange, because they've got Redant up there who's having a nice tow back up to that little group, and yet here we have them drifting off the front, and this is Van Slyke, Rick Van Slyke, edging his way. But why is he helping with the chase? I just don't understand that. But he's back again now. And TVM again charging across, ever-present pictures of the Panasonic colours. Looking back down there, Abdul Japarov is about 15th off the front in the green jersey. So he's still in contention if it comes to a mass sprint finish. They're boring after that leading group, aren't they? Absolutely going flat out. But it's not concerted chase. Before, you see, we had at least one team, Buckler doing all the work, and we also had Carrera helping them. We had Toshiba for something like about 8 kilometers or so, really grafting away. They're the ones that brought it back, but there's not one sole team on the front, and this will aid the 5 men up the front. Buckler are not going to do any chasing now. They've got Van Hooijdonk up there. Having said that, there goes a Buckler rider. That's odd, but there you go.
Eurosport. The Tour de France. This program is brought to you by Eurosport.
Chasing group with the riders here not really cohesive in their efforts. There's riders from different teams all trying to drive across that gap, which the 5 kilometer battle they went under. The gap was 1 minute and 10 seconds. So the over the Rhone now looks as if the 1 minute 10 second might be enough for those leading 5 men to stay away. And it's Van Hooijdonk's effort, I think, to go across and join up with the leaders that's added that useful extra bit of firepower. And the pack still, though, desperately keen to reel them in. These 1 or 2 lone riders drifting off the front, trying all they've got. They might as well blow the brains out now, because the time trial tomorrow is going to be for the specialists. There'll be the top 30 men tomorrow who'll get some money for time trialing well. But many of these blokes in this bunch now, in fact, it's so not the Rhone, my mistake, and the riders here beginning to stretch the field, and they have no chance of winning the time trial tomorrow, some of these riders, so they're going to be determined now in their attempts to try and get some glory on this stage. And there are 3 kilometers to go, still this pack in front, and this looks to me like going after Yakimov now. Yakimov, pursuit champion of the world and a man who's had 11 world records as an amateur, is going off here though. Yakimov is going for it. So Yakimov here, really charging along. What a style, what a powerful bike rider he is too. Yakimov not really settled down to road racing to his satisfaction. I think he's had a bit of an up and down career, but he's really going now. And the rest of the field are setting up their own pursuit after the pursuit champion of the world. And Bunyo beginning to fire himself off the front as well, with 2 kilometers left to go. So still this man Yakimov on the front. And there the rest of the pack stringing along after him. Well, Yakimov has chosen a right good time to slide off the front of this field. There he is, hidden down below the buildings, and in all the confusion of us being off air in the ads, it looks to me then as if that leading group of 4 men had in fact been caught. The last time I saw them, the gap was sufficient for them to stay away, but they've been swallowed up. My apologies that we missed that one, and leaving Yakimov on the front at the moment. Yakimov is going for it, and he's chosen the right time to go. Certainly his teammates from the Panasonic team will do all the blocking they can do. They've not had a stage success so far in this tour. The team which came out of the TI Rally team, which was all dominant, in fact, the TI Rally team won 6 consecutive stage victories, and now the team being built around that. We've got Yakimov here going for this particular victory. The rest of the field behind him all spread out all over the place. And with 900 meters to go, sorry I misled you about those 4 men. They got them swept up, and Toshiba doing the chasing down like they've been doing all the time. And Jalabert, who's been sitting on the back of his pack, is still trying to close up. It's Jalabert there in second place then, as Yakimov starts to go for this one. He's coming up then towards some 300 meters to go, the crowd urging him on his way. So here Yakimov looks like he might get it. This, you're watching the world pursuit champion in action, and he's chosen the right time to go. He's going to put his name up there on the roll of honour, because as he turns for the last time, you'll see the finishing straight. And where's the pack behind him? As Jalabert's coming for him, it looks like Yakimov chose just the right time to go after that little group with containing Hedwig Van Hooijdonk and Verdant got caught. So So here he's got that one absolutely stitched. They caught the breakaways just in time, which meant that Yakimov could launch his famous last burst over the last few kilometres. He's got the stage victory for Panasonic, and look who's coming up at the time. Oh dear, Ludwig tried to go for it, but I think on the left-hand side that Abdul-Japarov got second place just ahead of Ludwig. So there was a neat little sandwich as far as Panasonic were concerned, because they had got first and third place with Abdul-Japarov in second and Jalabert into fourth spot, it looked to me, and the rest of the pack coming through. So sorry about the slight confusion when that little breakaway group got caught and we're off air, but there they are, all in now, and that shows you that even towards the very end, that's it. So yellow jersey safely home, green jersey safely home. Looking down there for the King of the Mountains jersey. We'll get them up on the rostrum later on for the usual presentations, by the way. And here we go for that sprint. There we are. And whoops, that's further back down the pack. That certainly wasn't for second and third. They've got a slow motion in the main pack for some reason. That wasn't for second place because it's Abdul-Japarov and here we are. We're going to have the first place again. And we're having slow motion of the bunch, which was not bothered about the sprint. Does seem Delgado drift across the screen. So he's home and dried. Lost a bit of time yesterday. Delgado drifted back a little bit. No, sorry, he's in 11th place overall. Yakimov finishing, I say, 11 world records as an amateur. Because being Soviet Union rider, he had to stay as an amateur until he could finally turn professional when the old Iron Curtain came down. And here we go, look at this. It really is an Eastern Bloc benefit, isn't it? Well, it used to be Eastern Bloc, because they've got Soviet Union in second place and then another one from East German going over into third place. So we've got the couple of Soviet Unions. They really are beginning to dominate this one. Soviet Union so far, we've had Abdul-Japarov get a couple of stages. We've had now Yakimov, we've had Konishev as well. So they really are beginning to hound down the established order of things, because the old days are saying the Dutch riders and the Belgians used to be the great ones for the sprints. Ooh! Well, Abdul-Japarov, just look at that, ahead of Olev Ludwig. And that looks like Tonton Tapis, not Jalabert. If we go back to the fourth place, it might be Jean-Claude Colotti into fourth spot. So the information we got from the radio might have been incorrect. It comes from all over the place. Our visual one here, we're on the cans, we can listen to information coming in as well on the tour radio. Well, down there, the city of Macon, first time, believe it or not, that the tour actually has been here, and then they will have a, oh, that's a pretty bit of work. Oh, look at that. Isn't that magnificent, just to celebrate the first time? And there, Abdul-Japarov finishing in second place today. A bit of a Soviet Union clean sweep with first and second place. I think they'll have a few celebrations when this tour is over and done with. So Abdul-Japarov, dominant all the way throughout this race with his green jersey. Took it over on the third stage. We all thought he might really struggle in the mountains, but Sean Kelly, unfortunately, with that salmon poising, couldn't tackle him in the mountains. Sean was very close to going for that jersey, and Sean said he's going to come back next year, provided he can get himself fit and doesn't fall off and break his collarbone again. But Abdul-Japarov, oh, nice little smile. Got a great wide smile, that guy. Look at the size of those legs too. Now you can see why he's a sprinter. Just look at those thighs. And nice bit of, what the heck do you call that? It isn't Toper, is it? Well, Yakimov, Abdul-Japarov. Yes, got it right. It was Coletti in fourth place. I thought that was him ahead of Jalabert. And again from what was East Germany, Schur in sixth place. So we've got a real mixed bag of nations there, haven't we? A couple from the Soviet Union, and then we got what used to be East Germany. Now Germany has such. Coletti from France, Jalabert from France, and Schur also from Germany. So that'll go League of Nations or United Nations, getting all the more international this bike race, because when I first got involved in watching the Tour de France, it was just totally France and Italy and Spain and Belgium and Holland that used to dominate the race. I was lucky if anybody came anywhere. So there he is, Yakimov, smiling and being the recipient of the bouquet of flowers and the congratulations, having added his name to the list of winners of the stages in the Tour de France. And what a tremendous record this man has got as mainly a track rider, but he just showed that he could ride the road as well when he took off. A nicely judged effort on his part. But the pursuit par excellence. So way back in 1985 in the World Championships, he was with the team from Russia that won that one. 85, 87, 86, 88, 89, winning the 4,000 metre team pursuits. And here's the big hitter on the right and the big hitter on the left. They come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, but don't get in the way of those two blokes when they're sprinting. They go across the line at somewhere approaching 40 miles an hour, and when you get a bike rider of that size coming at you, don't stand in the way. They were trying to push the Cameron back. In fact, in the Parc de France, a fellow called André Dallegard once actually hit a photographer, or so, I think somebody came out onto the side and actually killed him. He fractured his skull. It was a nasty accident to show the speed at which they go. Claudio Chiappucci coming forward to collect once more the bouquet of flowers. There's no mountains from here to Paris. He's got that jersey, the Coca-Cola Light polka dot jersey going over the shoulders of Claudio Chiappucci, and he's very elated with that one. It's over and done with as far as he's concerned. There was a late attempt by Caviola to take the jersey off him. This man who finished second in the Tour de France last year, Claudio Chiappucci, still lying third overall, 4 minutes 48 seconds down on the leader, who is still Miguel Indurain. There'll be no change in the general classification today, and everybody's looking very happy, getting towards the end of the Tour as far as they're concerned. It's a bit like breaking up, but they've got this time trial tomorrow, and he's got to really ride his heart out tomorrow, because Motte, you see, in fourth place is 4:57. This lad is 4:48. So at the moment, he's got a job to do tomorrow, because he's only 9 seconds. You look at the smiling face, this fellow. He's got to go some tomorrow in the time trial. He's only 9 seconds ahead of Charlie Motte on general classification. So tomorrow there'll be a lot to ride for as far as those two riders are concerned. And that just confirms what I was saying. You can see down there behind Indurain and Bono, Chiappucci and Motte, just 4:48 and 4:57. So time trial will sort out who's going to be third and fourth as our overall leader comes forward. Leblanc is still ahead. Laurent Fignon down there, 6:53, place 7:15. So Fignon is a very good time trial. This is another little battle tomorrow. His teammate, it'll be every man for himself tomorrow. Leblanc 6:53 and Fignon 7:15. So there, the yellow jersey. Well, he's 3 minutes 9 seconds ahead of Bugno. Shouldn't lose that. He won the 73 kilometre time trial. He's been previous winner of time trial in the Tour de France. So that is Indurain. Tomorrow the stage will cover 57 kilometres. It starts at 12 o'clock. The riders will set off at intervals right the way through, and the fast men go at the back end of the field. And we're going to be covering the time trial tomorrow throughout the afternoon, so tune into Eurosport and watch what's going on, particularly towards the back end of the afternoon, because that's when we're going to have the top riders coming in, and I suspect that one or two of the also-rans, in inverted commas, will set some reasonably quick time. Him and his lion. I think I'm going to have a zoo down at Pamplona to keep all these lions in when he gets back down there. At least he's on his way to winning the Tour de France, and Banesto, which is a bank, will probably be quite happy with the celebrations back in Italy, which repays in the fact he's not riding in their colours at the moment. He's got to ride in the yellow jersey of another bank, Credit Lyonnais, who's sponsoring this section of the Tour de France. So there we are, another great day on the bike race, and once more history being made. The Soviet Union riders beginning to dominate the stages. Confirmation of the classification, just for you to look at, is beginning to fade off the screen. Myself, David Duffield, sitting here looking forward to tomorrow's time trial, and of course to Sunday, which will bring to conclusion what has been one of those fascinating Tour de France's we've had for a very long time indeed. So I hope you'll be with us on Saturday and again on Sunday. So myself and the Eurosport crew, time to say goodbye.
Eurosport. The Tour de France. This program is brought to you by Euro.